But it's like, it'd be nice
But
if it was something to get out, if the point is to get people,
well,
maybe to come.
hey everyone, welcome to the show today. Hey, I'll tell you what, I have a great guest visitor here, Andrea Ziegler, Ziggy, the owner and host of the retreat that is coming up in San Pancho, is with me today. You might think, why would I bring a professional dancer onto the show? Well, lots of good reasons. First off, I've known Andrea forever. Do I call you Andrea or should I call you Zig? What do you want to be
As you
called?
wish. Ziggy.
That's Ziggy. So Ziggy and I have known each other forever. I think we met when I was 15, and you and Tara popped into the backyard at our house in New Hamburg because we had a trampoline, and there it all started. And from there, it's like friendship that's lasted forever. One of the reasons that I'm very we'll get into Andrea's story in a second, but Ziggy had such a long career as a professional dancer in Cirque du Soleil, and then she was the dance captain with the Celine Dion show. I mean, what are you like? That's like 15 plus years in Las Vegas. Here's what I'm really interested in. How does someone have such a long career and a successful career and have the longevity to make it? And you didn't turn into a raging drug addict. You weren't anorexic and bulimic, and you didn't burn out apparently. Like I mean, I'm thinking of my own career. I like burnt out of the paramedic world, like, or rusted out, something like that. But Ziggy, give us some wisdom. I'm really
Yeah.
curious about tell us all about your dance career first. So you went to Ryerson, right?
Okay, yeah, which is now TMU, right? Toronto
TMU. Oh,
Metropolitan
okay.
University. It's been shifted.
Oh.
So yes, you're right. Danced my whole life. Mom threw me into ballet at the age of 3 because I think I was a little hyperactive and she needed me out of the house for an hour. She's saying no,
Wonderful.
but it's
It seems
true.
like, yeah.
Um,
And Mama
so
Zig's in the
yeah.
background. This is great. I love it.
Yeah. So just, continue. And then we moved to New Hamburg, which is where, yeah, you and I grew up. But my mom kept driving me to the city of Cambridge for dance. So yes, ballet all the way
Oh,
through, add in the modern, the tap, the jazz. But honestly, I really was a wannabe gymnast, which is also where I think we overlapped because you had a
that's right.
passion
Yeah.
for gymnastics as well. But in
Right.
our little town of New Hamburg, not so much gymnastics
Not
going
so
on
much
as I
anything, really, was
recall.
there?
Yeah, so I kept doing the ballet and going, like in music, you have the Royal Academy exams that you do with the conservatory. It's the same with
Okay.
ballet. You go through, you do all the
Oh,
exams. So I did all of that for ballet
oh,
through the Royal Academy system with my teacher who was from England.
the things I'm
And
learning. I love it.
yeah, you're going to get the long version here, and then
Okay,
obviously
that's
I'll
good.
edit how you want.
Yeah.
But
Edit, edit.
edit. So actually, when it came time, I never grew up wanting to be a professional dancer. That was not a dream. I actually was really more
Okay.
into sports in high school, like the
Right.
volleyball, badminton, running
Right.
track, all those things. And I
Okay.
looked at going to Queens for university, because for phys ed, to
Wow.
be a phys ed teacher.
I
And
didn't know
then,
that.
yeah, yeah. And then when I looked at the course curriculum and it was biology and chemistry and all the things you need to do to be a teacher as well
Of
as do the
course.
phys ed side, I was
Right.
like, no, I have academia out after high school. I really didn't want to
Right.
be doing that, unlike my
Yeah.
brother. Um,
Unlike your brother. Yeah.
like my brother. So I
Dr.
thought,
Phil. Yep.
hey, yeah, exactly. Why don't I just try this dance thing? And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I'll go back to school for physical therapy or kinesiology or chiropractic, something like that.
Yeah.
So at the time in Ontario, it was York University, which I think, didn't
Right.
you go to York?
Well, that was sort of the end of my gym career because I broke my ankle and then I had all the
Ah,
ankle problems after that. But the coach for the Canadian gymnastics men's Canadian gymnastics team, and
ah,
he wanted me to come to York, and so I had this letter of invitation from them and whatever, and then I broke my ankle, so that was my
dang.
exit from the University
Ah.
of York. Yeah.
Shoot, sorry about
So,
that. Because I
oh, me
remember you
too. It's
being,
whatever,
amazing
whatever.
gymnast and the
It's
passion for it. So, damn.
whatever. It's totally fine.
but I
Oh,
really wanted to dance. So hence
okay.
Ryerson was a 3-year diploma, and it was just ballet every day, jazz twice a week, modern twice a week. And then you could
Wow.
diverge into acting, I mean, performance or
Right.
teaching. So then I went into the performance stream, and then you got acting and singing and musical theater and all of that.
Wow. I'm
And
surprised you
then
didn't become an actor too. Like that could you could have done it. No, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting. We'll get back. But here's why. Because I was watching one of the new versions of the Star Wars films. Did I ever tell you this story? And it came on and Natalie Portman was there and I was like, "Oh my God, that's Andrea." It's like I didn't know she went into acting. I'm like, there's Natalie Portman, playing like Quintus Amidala or whatever. And I'm
I
like,
wish.
that's Zig. Oh my God, that's Zig. And I was absolutely
Oh my
convinced. I even
goodness.
stayed to the end. I don't know who I was watching the
Can
film
you
with.
imagine just
So I
making my
could
debut
so
in
I could
Star Wars?
watch through the credits to see like who was Queen Amidala. And
Oh my
anyways, but it
gosh.
was pretty funny. But yeah, okay, so you went
That's
to
an honor.
Ryerson.
She's brilliant. She's smart and can
She's
dance because she did
she's
Black Swan, right? She was
She did
also a
Black
ballet
Swan. That's
dancer.
right. Yeah, she did the ballet
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
okay, so
No,
Ryerson
no
and
acting
and you
for
did all
me.
the things. You did all the
Yeah.
things.
Did all the things. Early 90s, and Toronto was like Broadway North. Like
Right.
Mervish, Garth Dobrinsky, they were all there, and there was every musical you could think of under the
Oh
sun
wow.
there.
Okay.
And so Phantom of the Opera was in year four. And
Okay.
I was at the start of my third year and final year at Ryerson, and my friend said, "You have to go. They're looking for ballerinas who can sing, and this is you. You should go." And I was like, "Nah, I don't feel good. I'm
Ah,
sick." Anyway,
Phantom. I don't feel Phantom.
yeah. But with the persuasion, thank you, Sharon, of my friend, I went, and yeah, with my dad being a music teacher, obviously singing in choirs my whole
Right.
life,
Yeah.
that skill set did pay homage. And this is just a little going back to you were talking about being a gymnast and how, I mean, things can end like that. And this also
Yeah.
goes to longevity. My ballet teacher, who was from England, and she was an
Right.
older, ballet mistress, had the wherewithal to kind of tell my mom when I was younger, because I really wanted to go in gymnastics, to be like,
Right.
if Andrea has a career in gymnastics, if she gets to the point where she can compete,
Right.
provincially, nationally, if
Right.
she doesn't get injured, her career is going to be over by the time she's probably like 18 max at that time.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah.
Or if she dances and she learns to sing and act, she can dance up until her 40s. Well,
Right.
what a premonition. So
Yeah, that's
that was where
wonderful.
wise words from this older British woman who kind of understood, being a ballerina herself, like understood that cross training, which goes into what we're going to talk about later with my
Right.
career,
Right.
is so great.
So you graduated from Ryerson and then
Get into
but
Phantom of
you're
the
in
Opera.
third year. Did you actually go to did you finished, but I mean you were in third year and then what happened with Phantom?
No, I got Phantom at the same time. So I was in the beginning of my third year, auditioned and got the job. I was the youngest in the cast, 20 years old.
Wow.
And so I
Wow.
was doing school by day and shows at night, which was crazy, which burnt me out. By Christmas, I
Right.
was not doing well. I was, yeah,
Yeah.
had gotten sick, and yeah, I wasn't doing well. Now the dance captain in
Okay.
the show was like, "What's wrong? You don't look well. You're so thin. You've lost weight. You look great." And I was
Oh,
like, I'm
oh,
sick.
I
I'm
hate you
sick.
people.
That's why, yeah, that's a whole other mentality that I'm so glad I missed in the ballet world. Like
You
body
did indeed.
image,
Yeah.
yeah, not buying into that.
So Phantom and you're sick because you've been working too much.
Too much. Yeah. So luckily the contract went from October to December because a
Oh,
tour went
okay.
out and I replaced someone. Then that person came back that I had replaced. And then,
Oh,
so
okay.
she was there from December till June. And then another year, Asian tour went out. So I knew from December to June, I didn't have to, I could just focus on finishing my last year. And then
Right.
I had a job. I graduated in April and I knew I had a job in June as long as I wanted with Phantom. So that was
With
like
Phantom.
amazing.
How do you prepare for audition? What do you
Good
do?
question. Because that was something they didn't really chat about much. And that's a whole other story, like negotiating contracts and like the business side, they did not really address in school, which is hilarious. I have so many stories about that. But preparing for audition, I mean, feel confident about your craft. I mean, you have to believe in when you go into that space because
Yeah.
It's a mind game. You go in and there's all
Right.
these dancers warming up, and I wasn't a flexible dancer by trade. Like I wasn't someone
Okay.
with my leg over my head or,
Yeah,
so
the
you
full
get
sprint
psyched
thing,
out
right?
beforehand. You see everyone doing their Gumby stretches and you're like, oh
Right.
gosh, how am I
Yeah.
ever gonna, I can't compete with that kind of thing.
Right.
So it's just, yeah, psych out. But once you get learning the routine, one, you have to be able to quickly pick stuff up in a audition. So
Right.
that's a whole other skill set is be able to
Right.
learn choreography quickly and then sell it.
I remember when you came out to visit Michelle, we all went dancing together one night. And I'll tell you what, everyone who's listening, dancing with a professional dancer, I'm like, come on. I remember when we were dancing, you could transform yourself into all these different sort of characters. It was the most incredible thing. It was like so it's like this funny little like beboppy, like hip hoppy, whatever, to like this crazy, sexy, whatever, to like this sort of elegant, like ballroom thing. And I'm like, oh my God. It was a really fun night. I'm sure you don't remember it. But I just remember thinking, oh my God, like that's how gifted people in the dance world are, where they can change the form and the ability to, like as you said, pick up the choreography and be able to
Mhm.
move with it right away. It was really quite a brilliant study in movement. And I think that's what I love about dancers.
No, and
I
you're
love
right, being
dancing.
transformative. Yeah, you have to be able to, yeah, mold yourself. And the music plays a big part of that, and just body awareness. I mean, any kind of athletic training that you've talked about before in your podcast about the hours of practice and
Yeah,
things like
sure.
that. I mean, it translates over into for sure. So,
How long did you stay with
mm.
Phantom?
Just a year and a half because,
Okay.
like you just said, dancers, I get bored pretty quickly.
Okay.
And for me, I realized if I could sing while I was dancing, I wasn't doing the kind of dance I wanted to do because I
Oh,
really like coming back to the gymnastic side, like athletic dance. And
right. Okay.
one wouldn't be able to sing if I was doing that.
No,
So
sure.
I had seen while I was in Phantom this company called La 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 Human Steps. They were from Montreal and they were a really avant-garde dance company. If anyone's listening, look up. They're not performing anymore. The company has
Right.
folded, but back in the 80s, 90s, the lead dancer, my gosh, it was only three women and three men, but Louise Lecavier was at the back of the then O'Keefe Center, standing at the back last row, standing for students, kind of watching her thinking, that is what I want to do. And that was just like chucking your body around. Women were lifting the men. It was insane. So I left Phantom to go work with that company for a year. At that age, at 23, you're still so malleable. And in the dance world, I don't know, for yoga, I'm assuming it's similar, but you do what the
Yoga. Yeah.
instructor says. Yes. And I think from what you said about Ashtanga learning in India, like they say
Yeah.
back bend,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, there's no choice so
Like
much.
you do. I remember Patabi Joyce yelling at me. He's like, "You breathe, you do."
Yeah, the director, the choreographer tells you to do something and you're not talking back. Like the discipline of
Right.
dance is you do.
Right.
So it was insane. I mean, we were doing horizontal flips, landing in push ups and rolling out, and the guy picks you up and
Oh
chucks you
wow.
over his shoulder. Like it was insane to the point of where I've never felt so broken in my whole career. Like my
Oh
body
really? Okay.
ached at 23. It was get up in the morning, get into a hot bath, roll
Oh
yourself to
really?
get some
Okay.
breakfast, and to the idea of like energy, like at Phantom where they're so thrilled I'm looking thin and sickly. I shouldn't say all of
Right.
Phantom. With this director, Edward Locke, he was like, you're going to want to bring a loaf of raisin bread and some oatmeal cookies to rehearsal because you're going to need like that kind of sustenance and
Energy.
energy to keep you
Yeah.
going. And I was like, I found my company. This is amazing. We can eat.
Right.
And the only time I really felt challenged in my career, dance wise, I think it
Wow.
was the
Really? Okay.
pinnacle of maybe what I pushed myself to do.
Wow.
But
Okay.
had I
Huh.
stayed, I'm sure my career would have ended very quickly. And the support wasn't there the same way. Now, fast forward, I auditioned for Cirque du Soleil. I get into that company and you have a full-time physio, full-time Pilates, full-time like coaches, full-time like you're surrounded by everything that nurtures you to keep your body safe and whole to do what you do. So basically with La La La, I had a full-time trainer, this
Right.
ex-military football dude who like coached me four times a week. My lats curved out. Like I was
Yes.
jacked. So during all this time with La La La, Alegria, the Cirque du Soleil show, comes to Toronto in the tent and I go and see it. And I'm like,
Oh,
what is this? But in Alegria, it's all acrobats, like aerial,
okay.
acrobats and gymnasts, and there's no
Yeah.
dancers to be seen.
Right.
But the energy of this, being the wannabe gymnast, is intriguing. So
Okay.
they're hosting a open call in Toronto for then swimmers because they were looking to do their show in Vegas called O, which they needed swimmers, but also a
Okay.
general call for dancers. So
Right.
I go to that audition. It's from 9 in the morning till 5 at night,
Wow.
and they just keep whittling down people and people. And at the end of the day, there I was with 30 of us remaining, and we had to improvise, and I was terrified because at that point in dance, improvisation wasn't such a skill set. It's not something you did.
Okay.
You learned what the
Right.
choreographer taught. And so I was the last person to improvise, and I just did bodybuilding poses because I had just come out of all my training from La La La, and I was so jacked that I was just like bodybuilder pose, do a
Gotcha.
little dance, throw in an aerial, do some more bodybuilder poses, like do a little dance, throw in some gymnastics. Like I was just trying to,
Wow.
do a bit of
Show them
everything.
everything.
And then
Wow.
they called me back to Montreal to have callbacks. They flew me out there, and I
Okay.
was like, well, they said we have a, position in Vegas, but at that time I was still with La La La. So I
Okay.
was like, I can't come to Vegas right now, but they were like, well, when you're not working, just let us know your address and phone number and give us a call and stay in touch. So now I go back to Phantom, blah, blah, blah. It's a whole year later and I'm
Right.
unemployed. And
Oh,
I remember them saying, hey, if you're ever unemployed, call us up and see what's
right.
going on. So I called Cirque in the fall of 97 and
Wow.
they said,
97.
yeah, we have a spot in Vegas. Can you move there in December? So I
Okay.
did. Oh my gosh. So little New
Wow.
Hamburg girl had never
Right?
planned to visit Vegas, let alone live in Vegas.
Oh my gosh. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So,
So you started with O? Is it O that that's
Mystère. Mystère was
Mystère?
the name of the
Okay.
show, which 30 years later is still there at Treasure Island.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
So I came in like year four
Okay.
of Mystère. They had been
Okay.
running. I was a lizard character
A lizard.
that,
Oh, okay.
yeah, got to dance, but then also you're with the circus. So, and the circus then was still new-ish. Like it's,
Right. Yeah, for sure.
so it was a little more free form, and you just got to basically, it was an amazing opportunity to learn from all the other acrobats,
Oh
all their
my
skills.
gosh. Oh my
So
gosh.
trampoline, bungee, Chinese poles, fast track trampoline, like I just learned it
What?
all because I
Oh my
wanted
God.
to.
That's so great. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
now they
that's
don't allow that because now that Cirque du Soleil is a bit more corporate. They don't want you training outside of your skill set in case you get injured. We had to take a ballet class every week
okay.
and we're expected to train on our own and we had rehearsals. So I still went to the gym and I did like
Of
body
course.
pump classes that's all
Oh, okay.
choreographed to music, but I would do
Oh,
body
okay.
pump, I would do high impact aerobics. I would, yeah, do the ballet still, do the jazz. Yeah, everything I knew. Like I got into running when I was a bit with La
Oh,
La, so still maybe a
okay.
bit of running, but Vegas was kind of hot. This
Yeah.
is where I really get into cross training, and that's
Okay.
part of my answer to your longevity. Is I didn't just dance. I did the
Right.
gym, I did the cardio, I did the weightlifting, I did ballet,
Yeah.
but I still
That's
hadn't
amazing.
done yoga yet. That still
That's
didn't come into my practice, which would have been amazing in hindsight. The Pilates started with Cirque.
so when you do Mystere and you do that for 2 years, what was the next step then?
So then I get again tired of doing the same thing because we're doing 10 shows a week. So,
Oh,
I mean, it's a
oh,
lot. It's
that's
476 shows a year. So even though my body, like, and the way I'm maintaining myself through this, I'm a huge advocate of massage for me. That really works. Like I was
oh,
just
okay.
getting massages every chance I could, and that's something they offered on site, little 20-minute segments. Yes, my body was okay, but I was needing to do something else. So I took off and traveled to Australia for 6 months. I was like, I'm just going to stop dancing and travel.
How in the world do you like? I'm not sure how you like maintained a long career. I mean, it's like I'm
No.
just gonna stop. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Bye. Okay. So you took. Hold on.
Yeah, 27 years old. It is not a natural thing, I guess, to just
to
decide to
just stop,
travel.
to just
But
stop. Okay.
yes, but it's not like I
Right.
stopped moving. Like I still love dancing.
And then how did you get back to circus?
Yeah, so then I came back and I went to New York City, and I'm probably one
Okay.
of the only dancers who has no desire to live in New York City. To go
Okay.
to an audition and be like one of hundreds and hundreds of people. I remember standing in the back row for a dance company, and I never even got seen and got cut. Like I was like, what? I didn't even get
Wow.
to show you anything. It's just
Oh,
it's too
okay.
many people. I thought this isn't for me. And at that time, while I was hanging out in Brooklyn with my friend, Cirque du Soleil called me back and said, hey, we have a European tour going on that there's a character role, which means you're kind of part clown, dancer, acrobat was the role.
All
It
the
had only ever
things. Yeah.
been done by a man at that point, but
Oh,
they said, we think you would really fit it. Would you like to start in January in Europe, in London?
right.
And I said, yes, please. I go on the European tour with Kidam. So on tour, it's better than the permanent shows in that you have to tour cities. So you stay in each city for 6 to 9 weeks, which is
Okay.
amazing because you
All
get
right.
time to actually like find your cafes
Oh,
and your bookstores and
that's
tour and
absolutely the
you know
best way to learn a city, too. How fantastic.
and
Okay.
you got to travel with 2 suitcases and a bicycle. So they take that for you from city to
What?
city.
A bike and
Yeah.
your suitcases? Oh, come on. I want. Oh, why couldn't I work with
So
Cirque? Whatever.
So because they have to move the tent between
Okay.
cities,
Yeah.
you get 10 days off usually. So then you're in
Oh,
Europe just getting to do whatever you want to do while
and
they
it's
move the
Europe.
tent and set it up and you're in Europe.
The-
Again, we're traveling with massage therapists and physiotherapists and a catering truck. So the food is all cooked for you. Like we're staying in, I mean, I just don't even want to sound like I'm, you know,
that you're the
boasting about how
shishi
amazing this
bougie dance.
was.
I'm a shishi bougie professional dancer. They
But I get bored, so I quit and I move back to Toronto. And a
right.
friend I'd performed with in Phantom, his girlfriend is an amazing ballerina. And we get together for lunch and she's like, do you know anything about the director of Cirque du Soleil and Celine Dion doing a show in Vegas? And I said, nope, I don't know anything about that. Naomi calls me up in the spring the following year and says, do you know that job I told you about? I got it.
With
And
Celine.
with Celine and Franco Dragon, who was the director for the first
Franco
6
Dragon.
Cirque du
Yeah.
Soleil
What was the name
shows.
of that?
Celine didn't go to Cirque du Soleil to create her show. She went to Franco, who
Okay. All
was
right.
a director and freelancing with Cirque, and said, I want you to direct the show.
All right.
So
So,
my friend Naomi calls me and says, would you read over the contract for me? Because I've been working in ballet companies and this is unlike a circus contract is very different than what I'm used to. So would you
right.
look it over and tell me if this is a
Right.
good deal, if this is a good contract? So I'm like, absolutely, I'll look it over. So I read through the contract and I'm like, yes, you should take this job.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
amazing
Okay.
because in light of 476 shows, 350 shows,
Wow. Okay.
Celine can only sing one show a night, so
Okay.
already, and
So,
she
so
still
much
has
better. Yeah.
galas to do and albums to create. So she is
Right.
doing only 200 shows a year, and
Wow. Okay.
the pay was very good. So she's like, "Thank you," and that was the end of that conversation. My friend I'm staying with while I'm unemployed in Toronto says to me, "Why do you not write them? These are the people from Cirque. You should see if you can get in on this show." And
Right.
I said, but they auditioned around the world all last year. They went to Paris and Turkey
But I'm
and
from
like,
New Hamburg and I lived with Mennonites, and Mennonites were all like very humble, and we don't ever promote ourselves in any way.
but
Uh,
I wasn't
I'm just,
Mennonite.
I know you're not Mennonite, heathen.
United.
Anyways, okay. Yeah. Yeah. All right. All right. Good.
So
So,
she says, you should contact them. I'm like, no, no, they've already auditioned. They've already offered contracts to they're to that point where they've chosen their
oh,
cast.
yeah. Right. Sure.
And so I go back to New Hamburg. I'm staying at mom and dad's. And I
Right.
remember waking up at 6 in the morning going, what am I doing?
Right. I'm back with
I should,
energy.
I should just write this director from
Yeah.
Cirque du Soleil who I worked with at Mystère and tell
Who
him
you
I'm
know.
available. Who I know
Right.
because he was a director at Mystère for the 2 years
Right.
I was there.
You write
So
the
I
director.
email Pavel
Yeah.
and say, hey, do you remember me? I danced in Mystère. I know you've already casted this
He's
Celine
like,
show,
how could I ever forget you? You got the smile
but
that lights up the room. You're the Zigster, the lizard.
but if you need another dancer, like I'm
All
available,
right.
interested. 3 hours later, I get an email back. Really? You're not, under contract right now? You're not doing anything? We would love to have you be part of the cast.
What? Come
So,
on.
yeah, out of the
Oh,
50 dancers that were hired from around the world, I was very fortunate enough to be the only one who didn't audition and just
okay.
join the cast. I had only ever worked with at most six dancers in a cast.
Right.
And I
Okay.
thought, oh no, this is going to be a nightmare. There's going to be divas, catty people, competition. Like, I was concerned this experience wasn't going to be all that for the
Right.
relationship of the cast. But when we got there to Belgium, which is where we went to create the show, which was amazing, we were all 5 months in Belgium. Everyone was away
Wow.
from their
Yeah.
home, which I think gelled us together as well. But
Right.
I talked to the casting director and I said, how did you do this? How did you create such a cast that bonded so well together, that supported one another and wasn't in competition? And she
Right.
said, we spent a long time interviewing people. Like, that was a big part of the
Wow.
process. And we had to pick the right people, not just the talent. And I've seen that throughout my career, that it's not just talent that gets you the work. You
It's not
have
just
to be
talent.
someone that people want to work with. Like a
Be
good person
be
that you can
someone that
rely
they want to
on,
work
that's going
with.
to bring positivity,
Right.
that's, a team player, that's supportive of
Right.
others, that,
Right.
all of those things. And I've seen that sometimes get work over talent.
Right.
So,
And
yeah.
then you became the dance
I
captain
won't
for
say,
Celine
no, I
Dion.
won't say I won't say the because it was 50 dancers. So there was four of us.
Okay.
It started with two of us and it went
You
to
became
four.
a dance captain. Yeah.
Yes. So at the end of Belgium,
Right.
it's 5 months, and Mia Michaels was the choreographer for the show.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, at the end
So
of the 5 months, she just came to me and asked. I mean, honestly, I was one of, at that point, I was 30. So I was one of the more mature senior dancers in the cast because they went from
right. Yeah.
19 probably to 35. And I've had some experience. So yeah, she just approached me if I'd like to be the female dance captain, and then there was a male dance captain because we were 25 men and 25 women in the cast.
I see. Okay.
So that was at the edge of Belgium, and then when we got to Las Vegas into the theater, I mean, if it's even more work needed to get everything on stage and all the
Right.
rehearsals and all that. So then they hired another female and male dance captain. So there was
So
four
a
of
couple
us.
more. You did the Celine show for 5 years. Is
Five
that right?
years. Yeah. Yes.
The whole time
Yes.
Celine was in Las Vegas.
The whole time, and I didn't get bored because
Wow.
it turned out she could only do 150 shows a year.
Okay.
So we had a lot of vacation time. So
Wow.
when you
Okay.
get, 6 weeks off in the summer and 3 weeks over Christmas, and I mean, and then she would do 4 shows a week, and then 5 shows, and then 4 shows, and so we had a long weekend every other weekend. It honestly was the gig of the century. Yeah,
Wow. And okay, how was Celine? I like it. You
amazing.
know her, like you know
Yeah.
Celine Dion. I'm like,
Oh,
my friend
it's not like
Andrea
we have
knows
tea
Celine.
together. We don't have tea together.
All right.
She gives her all. She hates if she would have to cancel a performance. Like, she would be so
Right.
sick sometimes backstage and just, mustering up everything she had to step out on stage.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't have one bad thing to say about this woman. She's incredible.
So part of the longevity piece is decreasing actually the amount of physical work so that it can become prolonged over time. Would you say that? Am I right in saying that?
Yes, yes,
And
exactly. That did work in my favor, I would say that way,
okay.
as in that it got, you're right, 476 shows, and then the tour is a bit lighter, and then Celine's a bit lighter. And then
Right.
after Celine was my switch then off of stage into being, the title was Dance Master,
You
but like a
became a
dance
dance
coach.
master.
Yeah, so that started the transition. So I was coach on that show. And then because with that show, we had two acrobatic coaches, and then I was the dance coach. And when there's turnovers, let's say there's a hand balancing act, it's a duo.
Right. Okay.
When one couple leaves, a new couple comes in with completely maybe different, even though they're hand to hand tricks, let's say, or
Right.
choreography, they're different than the couple before. So you have to create a whole new act for them. And
Okay.
they didn't bring back the choreographer who did the initial couple. They would just use
Okay.
in-house coaches. So I had the experience there for when the Michael Jackson 1 show started to be created. That same acrobatic coach I'd been working with in Viva Elvis had moved back to Montreal, and they were like, who would you like to create the acrobatic choreography with for this new show? And my name came up, and then it was a beautiful transition into becoming an acrobatic choreographer for Cirque.
I mean, you've done other things a little bit too. Like was
Oh, Bridgerton. Oh,
Bridgerton, right?
yes,
Like
the
you had Bridgerton
Bridgerton
things, and I mean,
tour traveling live show experience. Yeah, I did
wow,
that. I worked on a TV show for a while doing choreography, the Big Top Academy. It's a children's
wow,
scripted series. I did a couple seasons. I've done special events myself, like just, you travel to Dubai for 50 hours to perform for some, conference or
right,
something. I've flown to
right.
Moscow to perform with Elton John for some couple's 50th wedding
You
anniversary. It's
performed
just
with Elton John in Moscow.
well, it wasn't side by side with
Uh,
him. He was on before or after us. I can't remember, but they flew like 10 of us to do a
but
little mini Cirque
It's
show.
Elton John, Celine Dion, Elton John.
I
Well,
didn't go for
just having.
dinner with Elton,
I'm sorry.
but
I'm
he
fucking.
lives near us in Canada, right? So we could just pop over.
So then, yeah. So you do these special events, and then that
Yeah,
leads us right to the most special event that's coming up. February 2nd to 6th. If you all are hearing this, there's 2 spots left to our retreat. Ziggy and I are doing this retreat, and I mean, I'm teaching a little bit of yoga, but Ziggy is like providing like the whole choreography for the event, and so all of our acrobatic choreography for our retreat is going to be done by Zig. And in fact, I saw this thing on TikTok, or was it Facebook? I don't know, like a day or two ago, where there's just like a little dancey thing, and I'm like, Zig, can you teach me how to do that? So the dance captain from a dance captain from the Celine
thank you.
Dion show um, is going to teach me how to do some dance steps this February coming right up. I mean, I'll tell you what, if that is not a reason to come to our retreat to watch me left foot it, I don't know this thing is going to be it's going to be yoga, sunsets, and giggles.
Absolutely.
Zig, you're 30 something. And I mean, that I've turned, you know, 50 something. I'm really curious. Like, what do you recommend for us all to keep healthy and vibrant? And I know you're just this light, and I'm actually just a little bit worried that people are going to come back to all your retreats and they're going to ditch me for next year. But even I'm willing to put that on the table because no, because I really do. I really am actually asking an honest question here.
Well, let's put things straight. I'm 52, not in my 30s. But I'd
But
like
she
to think
looks 30.
mostly I
She looks 33.
feel
So,
in my
anyways, okay.
30s. I mean, let's see. There's the obvious of nutrition. I'm not saying by any means that I have a very clean diet, but to the point of like living in Vegas, like I don't drink alcohol. I've
So
never
no booze.
smoked. I've
Yep.
never done
Don't
drugs. Like
smoke. Right.
I do like chocolate.
Chocolate is my
I
drug of
like,
choice. Okay.
yes.
Okay, good.
Um,
Okay, all right. All
70%.
right, note to self and all of you from the retreat who are listening. This is what Zig needs.
70%. Oh my gosh.
70% chocolate. Okay, dark chocolate. Yeah.
So health,
So
I know I
nutrition.
was never nutrition. I think my sleep habits were pretty good. Like I was lucky in that I was able to come home and like get to bed early. I know you turn in very early as well. Like if we performed till midnight at Cirque, I was coming home and in bed by 1, where some of my friends were like, no, I need to wind down and eat. And they were up
Go
till 4 in
party.
the morning and then would
Celine.
sleep till noon, where I was like into bed early and waking up early-ish, like at 10 or
Okay.
something. So
Okay.
yeah, so good sleep, good
Okay,
nutrition.
let me ask you about the sleep thing. How many hours a night?
Now I'd say 7 to 7.5.
All
Yeah.
right.
When I was in Phantom, 10. Like when I was younger
Okay.
in my 20s, 10. But
Okay.
I
Okay.
liked to get 10. But now I'd say on average 7.
When you were Celine,
Um,
how long?
let's say like 8, probably 8, 8.5. But then on a physical standpoint, just repeating the cross training. Yes, the
Okay.
yoga. So the yoga, let's get to your yoga people here. The
Okay.
yoga came into my life in my 30s. Celine had a private yoga teacher on site at the theater at
Wow.
all times.
Wow.
And
Okay.
Celine didn't have time to take yoga. So she was available to us, the dancers, for an hour class every day before the show for those who
Wow.
wanted. And there
Oh
was like
wow.
four of us who were like, yes, yes,
Or in the
please,
whole
let's do
show who
that.
were like, let's do that. Okay, but
Like that felt good for me to warm up. Everyone has their ritual for their shows, what
sure.
they need to
Yeah.
do. Some like doing a ballet bar and some like, running the
Right.
treadmill or whatever. But Celine's private instructor became 5 years of my introduction to yoga, which was a
Of your learning yoga. That's
of my
fantastic.
learning, which was so beneficial. And I really think it would have been interesting had I been exposed to yoga earlier in my career
Okay.
for
Yeah.
both the concepts of moving with breath, because with
Right.
ballet, they don't really speak of breath when I was training growing up.
Wow.
That
Okay.
wasn't a thing. So the movement with breath was an incredible addition to my dancing.
Right.
And alignment, like that whole parallel alignment. In modern dance, it's a little
Okay.
more, but ballet, not so much.
Yeah, that
And
turned out
just the
some. Yeah.
stacking of bones, talking about it differently,
Okay.
was
Right.
really beneficial to my dance.
But
So
so
I,
using yoga as like yoga posture or asana as cross training or warming up for your show, that'd be big
mhm,
use.
yes.
What about the mind stuff? I know you're like an extremely positive person.
Oh, the mindset. Yeah, that I must say I'm still working with that. And that goes along with my
Really?
whole like I
Oh, okay.
like to move on to things quickly. My brain
Okay.
shifts quickly. So the challenge of sitting in meditation, sitting for one,
Sitting.
and
Okay.
then just physically sitting, like and being still is something
Yeah.
I'm working on and
Okay.
appreciate very much.
Yeah.
And then the mind and the breath is a part of it I'm still growing into. It's definitely better than it was, but yeah,
Okay.
it's a part that would love when I have you here. I look forward to diving that in with you.
How can people get a hold of you if they want to come to you? Because February's like right around the corner, but you've got a few more retreats
Mhm.
this year yet that people could
Well, yeah,
join
not
in
I. This
Mexico.
is right. This is my fourth retreat at my home in
Right.
Casa Ziggy,
Yeah.
and I will have some more coming up in the fall here in Mexico, but I have not yet set those dates. But at ziggymoves.com, yeah,
Okay.
ZIGGYMOVES, ziggymoves.com is where I have
Ziggymoves.com. Okay.
all my retreats posted, as well as I teach online 3 times a week, both yoga
Okay.
and Pilates, and I have people that Zoom in to those classes from all over the place. For those looking to come to the retreat, just San Pancho alone is a vibrant, magical town. There's so much creativity here, art, music. The beach itself is gorgeous. There's many things to experience in town besides our amazing retreat.
The
I think it's
sunsets.
a
Yeah.
yeah, there's a really nice balance of activities that we have planned together, but also time on your own to
Yeah.
explore and eat out and stroll the beach. And it's a really nicely balanced week.
All right. Well, Ziggy, thanks so much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And everyone who is listening out there, I tell you what, if you ever want a getaway, ziggymoves.com. So that's Ziggy Moves, ZIGGYMOVES.com. And that's where you're going to get, I mean, come on. You've heard the show now, and now we get the opportunity to study with the master, the dance master. Okay.
Mi casa y su
It was
casa.
it was master. You said it was dance master. Okay. All right, I'm
It
gonna
is
get out of
Dance
here before
Master,
I
you're
get into
right.
trouble. And you're gonna laugh and have fun. Okay, folks.
Totally.
Thanks a lot for listening, and we will talk to you again soon. All right. Peace out, or should I say, Om. Peace
Adios.
out.